Powerful, mystical, all-knowing, and yet somehow still so vague. But enough about me, Sukita Kiev, your host of the Files. Welcome to the first episode. Today we'll be joined by 4 guests, friends as well as family. Angelica, Jasmine, Kemra, and Mary will muse and examine anecdotes on today's topics: psychics, powers, and perceptions. And then perhaps by the end of the show, we'll get a better understanding as to why. It isn't surprising to note that interest in the mystical arts has grown during the pandemic. From astrology to palm and tarot reading, everyone is looking for some clarity during these uncertain times. We're all looking for a way to combat the anxiety and lack of control, to be able to know and see what's coming, to receive some guidance for what's in store. It's a sought-after gift. The oracles of Delphi, Nostradamus, even The Simpsons, to name a few. Psychics and predictions have spanned all across time and cultures. Let's hear what our first guest has to say. So, Angelica, have you ever gone to get your palms read or gone for a tarot reading?
I think they're BS. I think it's interesting. I feel like it can just give you some guidance, but I think these palm readers are just really good at reading body language, and that's how they can get things right, or they have a general sense, because a lot of time you don't go by yourself. Like when I went with my friend, and obviously we're waiting for our turn, we're having our conversations. They have that chance to, get a little bit more reading into, because according to this psychic, I should have met the love of my life like 10 years ago, so that did not happen.
And you don't sound bitter about that at all. I hope you didn't pay too much money.
Oh, it's $15. I think it's all coincidence. People always try to fit things into that narrative or whatever predictions.
And what about you, Jasmine?
I'm terrified of doing that, so I will not do that. I've heard of people getting it done, and it's spooky, and they'll be like, you'll die alone, or you'll die soon, and you'll never have kids, or anything like that. So I feel like if I got my future read, I would be so paranoid.
I get it. It's always when things start to get personal. So back during the ancient times, in Delphi, 1 day a month, 9 months a year, a person, a man, only a man would be allowed, to ask a question, and after a ritual of cleansing and sacrificing of a goat, which had conditions and requirements a mile long, through an oracle, Apollo would answer. Apollo is the Greek god of many things, but among them, prophecy and knowledge. It's believed, although there are still debates on whether the oracle, called the Pythia, had been high off drugs or the hallucinogenic fumes that were present around Delphi. The Pythias would respond to questions that range from personal to general in very vague verses, not unlike what we've seen in the prophecies of Nostradamus, a French astrologer and physician. Nostradamus, famous for his prophecies of quatrains, 4-line predictions, is thought to have foreseen the rise and fall of Napoleon Bonaparte as well as Hitler. Some have been debunked, while others still hold true for many believers. An example of one was the prediction of the 9/11 attacks. It read, "Earth-shaking fire from the center of the earth will cause tremors around the new city. 2 great rocks will war for a long time. Then Arethusa will redden a new river." Much like in this prophecy, where obvious meanings can be assigned, new city is New York City, 2 great rocks, the Twin Towers, many of his other predictions are more vague and perhaps more easily debatable. If and or when the words of oracles and psychics failed, we looked to the stars. Astrology has been dated as far back as the 2nd millennium BCE. Its use ranged from predicting seasonal shifts to signs of divine communication. Now we often associate astrology with horoscopes, a way to explain aspects of a person's personality, as well as predict significant events in their lives. So Jasmine, do you know what your astrological sign is?
Yes, I'm a Leo.
How is this different from a palm reading? Isn't it still just getting your future read?
I feel like for my horoscope, it could happen and it might not happen, since it's more of a generic, everyone with this sign. Whereas cards and palm reading, they're actually reading you specifically as one person. And I've heard, I mean, there's a lot of people who do it and it's not true, but I've heard of people who do it and it's true, and I'm scared.
Right. I do not blame you. Angelica, do you know what your astrological sign is?
Yes, the Capricorn.
Do you subscribe to it?
No. Only because I think a lot of the time it's big enough where you can fill it in.
You can pick and choose.
Yeah, you can pick and choose like where I fit into something.
So one reason that might explain why there is such a large number of people that believe in astrology and psychics and predictions, and that's the Barnum effect, also known as the Forer effect. The tendency for people to accept generalized personality descriptions as accurate descriptions of their own unique personality. It was named after the psychologist Bertram Forer, who gave 39 of his students a diagnostic interest blink test and then gave them an individual personality sketch based off the results of those tests. They were asked to rate, on a scale of 0 to 5, the efficacy as well as the accuracy of both test and results. The students gave the efficacy of 4.3, the accuracy an average of 4.6. All 39 students were given the same personality sketch. Many of the predictions and statements we see in astrology and prophecies mirror what was on that test. They're called Barnum statements, incredibly general and vague statements like, "You have a great deal of unused capacity which you have not turned to your advantage." Does that statement resonate with you? Psychics and predictions often give people what they want, tell them what they want to hear. The Barnum effect is only one reason as to how and why. So we've discussed precognition, the ability to see events in the future, but what about events in the past? What about that strange feeling of déjà vu? Déjà vu, translated to already seen, has no single explanation, but there are multiple theories. This fleeting feeling cannot be seen in any scans, so it's hard to pinpoint the why. Mary, let's get you in on this. What do you think déjà vu is?
Trippy AF. Deja vu, they say that it's like a hiccup in the brain, essentially. But my question is, why did it hiccup? Why is it so infrequent?
Yes, and why is it rarely ever reported in someone younger than 8 or 9?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Angelica, what do you think it is?
I remember in psychology, my professor said that was just like, you experiencing things double time, like your brain just processes it twice. That's why you think it's like it's happened in the past. But I don't know. I've experienced it, but I can't think of like one specific example.
Jasmine, what are your speculations?
I've heard that some people say that déjà vu is actually something that's happened in a past life, and when it's happening to you right now, that's why you feel like it's happened before, but it's in a past life. But
Oh, interesting. I've never heard that one before. I've heard someone say that we're all living in a simulation, and déjà vu is basically a glitch in the matrix.
Oh, glitch in the matrix, yes.
Angelica, what do you think?
I never related it to deja vu, but I have read like theories about glitch in the matrix, which is some of it's like pretty cool, pretty creepy stuff. So
Oh yeah, for sure. The next episode is going to get really into that. So as I've mentioned, there are multiple theories and speculations around why we experience déjà vu. Here are 3 of the top scientific reasons. 1. Dual processing. The brain has a delay in the processing, or better known as the slight hiccup. 2. Hologram theory, where you're unknowingly associating a moment from the past, an old memory, to one you're currently experiencing. 3. Unconscious peripheral processing, when you're so focused on the thing in front of you that it takes a second for your brain to process your surroundings. Let us know what your theories are. I used to think, for an embarrassing amount of time, that no one else experienced déjà vu, that I had powers. Like Phoebe Hallowell of Charmed, I had the power of sight. Kemra, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
I would be invisible, I guess.
Oh, that's a good one. Do your clothes go invisible too? Do you have control over it? Like, is it timed?
I hope it's not timed. If I could be invisible, I could go do and enjoy a lot of things.
Jasmine, what about you?
ooh, that's a tough one. I would want to say telekinesis.
Yeah, classic. What about you, Angelica?
If it was a skill that would make me money, I'd probably want to be like a master of all like instruments or something like that. Which is not a real superpower, but I can make money off of that. Like, I can't tell. I mean, what comes with my power? Do I get to make the rules?
What do you mean by instruments? What kind of instruments?
No, like that I just can play anything. Like, I can just pick up any instrument.
Oh, musical instrument.
Like, musically, yeah. Because then I'm just the best at everything, musically wise, you know? And I can make a lot of money out of that.
Would the limitations be like only percussions?
No, all instruments. Okay. There's only so many percussions that can get you like anywhere. So.
I like it. It's unique. Similar to what I would choose. The power of language, communication. I want to be able to communicate with anything. Plants, animals, humans, whatever.
Yeah, that would be like, that's up there too, because it's useful.
Yeah, very. Like if aliens ever invade, you know?
That's better than the instrument.
Yeah, yours is good too.
I'll stick with the musical stuff though. I understand your music.
You can soundtrack our conversation.
I'm useful.
So with telekinesis, ESP, psychics, and predictions, all of that have been tested in the lab. Under the scientific method, there has been no proof it exists. There is money out there, a foundation that is offering $1 million for proof of powers, the James Randi Education Foundation. But of course, once you're able to prove and then get the money, you can't expect to actually have the freedom to go out and enjoy it. Be prepared to be under a lot of people's radars. Considering the government's past, possibly present, involvement with psychic espionage, I'm willing to bet it won't be a pleasant experience. Declassified CIA documents showed that they believed the general public had some levels of powers of remote viewing, and with some training can be utilized. Millions and millions of dollars were put into programs like the Stargate program, which is a consolidation of previous programs called Gondola Wish, Grill Flame, Center Lane, Project CF, Sunstreak, and Scanate. Mind control was also something looked into in these programs. Again, with the declassified documents during the Cold War era, implants had been put into a bull's brain, and when it was charging at a target, shocks were sent to stop it. More sophisticated electrode implants were then put into human subjects, but essentially the same thing was happening. Charges were sent to change the human's behavior. LSD was used, as well as just good old-fashioned hypnosis was also often applied. So what do you guys think of the government's involvement in programs like these?
I didn't even know that the government put money. I don't put it past them. Of course they would put money into something dumb like that, but...
And what about hypnosis?
I've never been hypnotized, but I've seen my friend hypnotized, and I definitely think it's true because I've talked to my friends who were hypnotized after, and they did say, like, yeah, but I've personally never done it.
Well, that's scary. What if you're being made to do something you don't want to do?
They just said it was kind of like a normal thing, and like it's not like anything they wouldn't naturally do, but they would listen to the person who was hypnotizing them and they would just do it, but like on their own terms. Like if the man told them to act goofy or something, they wouldn't be acting goofy in a way they wouldn't naturally act goofy. They would do it in kind of like their own way.
I've seen that before, those kinds of shows. The hypnotist would ask a few questions to the volunteers beforehand to see if the person is even susceptible to it.
It's true, right? If your mind is open to it, it can control you. But, not control you, but it'll never make you do something you morally wouldn't do to begin with, I think, or something like that.
Mary, what do you think?
With hypnosis, I feel like I can see exactly how it works, but I can also see how it's bollocks. You see what I'm saying?
Right. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
If you have made the decision to see a hypnotist, right, you have already assigned yourself to the fact that you're starting from a point of, I'm already for this. I already see the benefit, right?
It's like you've opened yourself up to suggestions. The mind is a powerful thing.
And it might actually be the ultimate placebo.
Exactly. Hypnosis is still used today, oftentimes in terms of healing or self-improvement. You want to quit smoking? Try hypnosis. Speaking on the topic of healing, I had a really bad migraine a few weeks ago, and my niece came at me with a crystal. She recently got into crystals. Before that, my sister as well. They are by no means experts on this, but I thought it was interesting to see its effect on the both of them, as well as a huge number of people out there who subscribe to this. The idea of using crystals either for protection or healing is not a new one. We know that the ancient Sumerians and Egyptians had utilized them. The use of talismans and amulets goes so far back, some have dated as far back as the Neanderthals, carved out of mammoth ivory. And now in modern times, it's a big business. From what I understand, these healings also extend to light and energy as well. Let me know what you think. Do these crystals have actual benefits, or is it all the power of the mind?
I totally believe in the power of the mind, and placebo works because you've convinced yourself that this is the case, and because you've convinced yourself, without even consciously knowing, you're doing things that prop up the initial conception.
I think a lot of that is like a placebo effect, right? Because the mind, you tell it to feel some way and eventually you can convince it. So I guess if it helps you, it's cool, but I don't think they actually work. I care, like meditation can calm you down, right? Or like, I think, what was that? Fire breathing, where you control your breathing techniques, and that's how you like internally warm your bodies. There's like documentaries about that. One guy specifically who, I can't remember, climbed some fucking mountain, and he did it all in like his underwear because he was able to regulate his body temperature the whole time from his breathing techniques or some, yeah. So I don't think it was called fire breathing. I think that's the wrong term, but some things are possible or some things are helpful, but like that homeopathic stuff, I think is a lot of BS. I think that sometimes it's more harmful than helpful. And like the crystals, I mean, if you think it helps you, that's fine, but I don't think they possess any special powers.
Right, like it won't cure cancer.
No, it will not.
Back to what was said, the power of meditation. There's been research showing that meditation has a definitive physiological effect on the brain. Have you heard about this?
I remember reading an article about that, and they were scanning like brains of like Tibetan monks.
Yes, these monks are professional long-term meditators, and when they were studied, they showed high levels of gamma brain waves. At one point or another, we all have gamma waves for a very short amount of time. It's present during moments of euphoria. These monks showed strong and lasting gamma waves that were present during their everyday moments. When asked about that state of mind, some described it as another level, enlightenment, nirvana. It's baffling and astonishing to think about the potential of the mind. So why do you think people believe in the topics we've discussed today?
Like the same reason they believe in God, right? Like they just need a reason, or they need to understand it somehow so they can keep on living with something or whatever. So,
and yeah, just comforting, I guess.
I think a lot of people, most people who believe in it have probably tried finding answers through like logic and reason, and they still can't.
We should all endeavor as the species actually to remain open-minded.
Angelica, Jasmine, Kemra, and Mary, thank you all for joining me in episode 1 of the Y Files. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, thanks for having me. I expect the gift card in the mail.
My pleasure. I will take my check via mail.
Thank you.
In next week's episode, we'll look into all the possibilities of the future. Will we live longer? Shorter? Will we be able to upload our mind to a matrix and live forever? Interested in the possibilities of time travel? Then be sure to like, subscribe, and listen in to the Y Files.